Taking nuts. Nope, it's going.
Okay, do you have your timer set for voting if you have to do that?
Yeah, 1 second. Okay, going.
Okay. So it looks like this week there's like 4 questions. Is that the same thing that you guys see?
Yep.
So it says, what value do you place right now technologies? Or what value would you place on right now technologies?
Yeah, so I kind of took an easier approach to this. I probably could have taken a harder approach, but so I kind of went off of what the offer was going to be, and I kind of took that as a first valuation, kind of taking an estimate. And so in the case study, it talks about how at an IPO, it talks about the VC firm and how they would want to get 2 to 3 times what the last round of funding post-money valuation was. And so their post-money valuation after the last series of funding was 129. So I just took 129 and I times it by 2.5 because they wanted 2 to 3 times. And that's how I did my simple valuation for it. I haven't really gotten into a more complex valuation.
Yeah, I like that simple one, that one.
But he says it would be difficult to get their consent on acquisition without a step up of at least 2 to 3 times. And then it said the acquirer knew this was comfortable that they could meet or exceed the expectation range. So, I mean, we know that it's going to be above whatever amount we do because he said they could meet or exceed. So
yeah, I did it times 3.
Yeah, I just did 2.5 because it's right in the middle of 2 and 3. So I think that's the fairest way to do it.
Smart idea, but I went on the high valuation because it sounds like it's just going great guns. So
yeah, I mean, and that's what they think they could get from an IPO. So I think that's probably a pretty good and high valuation because an IPO usually provides the highest valuation, more so than an acquirer would. So I thought that was a pretty dependable valuation. And let's see what I got for my answer. I got 322 million. So that's quite a bit.
Yeah. Since they've gone through 2 rounds of funding, that gives us a better idea of what people really do think that their end post-money valuation is.
Yeah, and I think it would probably be a little higher, but they're kind of working in the .com bubble bust. So like they kind of said, they were worth 100 million and then they got $16 million, but then their valuation only went up to 129 million because of the boom or the bust of the bubble. So I think they probably would actually be worth a lot more if that wasn't happening at the time.
Well, and they did 16 million the first round too. So, they did just under the first round.
Yeah. And their post money value was much, much higher. So.
Okay. Is it all right if I move on?
Sure. The next question kind of talks about the same thing.
Okay, please provide a range of values rather than a single number. How did you come to this conclusion? We kind of talked about that.
Yeah.
Is there another way that you guys think that we could come to another conclusion? I mean,
if you just divide each one, if you time each time by like 2, 2.5, and 3, it gives you a range of numbers. But it also talks about, it also gives you some multipliers at the bottom of similar companies. But I don't know how similar these companies are because all the companies it talks about are much larger than us and they're already public.
Yeah. So it talked about Salesforce.com being the most similar, but that one's already gone public.
Well, it hasn't gone public yet. So actually we don't have any info on them. And that's what makes that hard.
Oh, that one's going public in 2004, huh?
Yeah, we don't have a multiple for them.
Well, the tutor told me to provide what the lowest I think I would accept and the highest I think I can get out of the deal. And you do that by comparing different companies and what they sold for.
Yeah, definitely. And I agree with that. But I think even like going against what the tutor said in this, it's more important to compare what we would get in IPO because that's what our investors care about more so than what other companies sold for because they didn't really, nobody in this situation sold. Everyone in this situation went to an IPO. So that's kind of a hard comparison to do. In the last case, that worked because we were talking about selling companies. We got statistics for what they sold as. So We don't have any statistics about companies and what they sold for.
Not even in any of the exhibits?
No. We only have IPO multiples. We have this here, and yeah, but this is still, it's talking about revenue and then adjusted price divided by revenue. So it's giving us the stock price of these companies compared to the revenue and what they do. It's kind of like the same table as last week, but it's based on stock prices. And we don't really know how much stock our companies were. I guess we could figure that out by the post-money and pre-money valuations. But that's a lot of work. So I guess I kind of feel more comfortable using with the IPO and kind of doing a range going from 2 to 3. So like the bottom range would be 258 million and the top range would be 387 million.
Yeah. Okay. I like that. If you were going to use, I don't see any EBIT in here either. Could you do valuation based on that?
You could, but not. I guess in this sense, it doesn't make as much sense because we're talking about IPO. And the buyer said he would give 2 to 3 times whatever the post-money valuation was, or more. So. I don't know, I'm sure that we could, because we can do it off of the 12-month trailing revenue, or we can do it off their projected revenue of 50 million. And I guess the guy did say that he would do work off the 50 million with a multiple, and with that we can do it times PEs, so price to earning ratio. So we look at similar companies. So like if we look at all these companies here, and the average is for 2004 is 37.3. So that's another way. You could take 50 million times 37.3, but I think that's too high. Oh, that's way too much. Let's see, what would we times that by? Would we not times it by revenue? How does that go? I don't remember. Maybe it's by net income.
You're looking at Exhibit 3, right?
Yeah, that was 3. So 2004, they expected to make a net income of, it doesn't show that on there, what they expect to make.
I don't see that.
2,220,220. It's Exhibit 6.
Oh.
So it would be, see, and that's only 82 million if that's how you do it with the PE multiple, which I'm pretty sure it is. Was it with revenue, sales? I don't remember. I'd have to look it up again. But I think the highest valuation is still going to come off projected IPO numbers.
Okay.
So that's my opinion, but obviously you guys might have different opinions.
Well, I just did mine at 3, so I have different numbers than you do, but and I don't have Exhibit 6. I only have Exhibit 1 and 2. And so I have to go into iLearn and find all the exhibits to follow what you're talking about.
So I'd say anywhere from 258 million to 387 million.
Okay. I agree with that. I like the range, but I'm sure that it's probably higher. They're probably in the upper. Yeah,
I think 2.5 would be fair at 322.
Yeah, I like how you took the middle of the road, because it's a good number.
Okay.
I'm going to move on to the next question. It says, if Greg's investors seek 30 to 50% internal rate of return, what exit value will they expect?
Right, and this is the one that I was talking about before, but I know that the internal rate of return is the discount rate times the post value. And the post value I wrote was 387, so that's why I came up with 50% times 387 equaling $193.5 million.
Who gave you that formula? Did the tutor give it to you?
No, that's the one I figured out because they want internal rate of return is their discount rate, which would have been 50% times the the post value.
Yeah. But I don't think you can take that and just times 50% times, because they're not going to take 50% of all the earnings. They just want to return to 50%. So if they gave 16 million, then they want to increase what they gave. They want to make back what they gave, and then they want to make 50% more than that. So I would say that they gave 16 million. So then they want to, times 1 point, let's do 1.4 for a middle. So they would have to get back at least 38 million to receive a 40% return. So they would get back all their money, and then they would also make like 22 million off of it. And that would be their 40% return. That's how I look at it. Because it would be a horrible deal for the company if they took half the earnings.
This is true. And yours makes a lot more sense to go that direction.
So you just took, Andrew, you took the 16 million that the VC firm invested.
And I times it by 1.4.
Because that's 40%, be 40% more.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not totally sure if that's how it definitely goes. I don't really know how to do the internal rate of return backwards. But I know if they did make their whatever I have here, 38 million, they would be making a 40% return on their 60, because they're going to make their 16 million back.
Mm-hmm.
That's breaking even, and then they're going to make a return. So
plus
whatever.
40% of whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So, but wouldn't it be 100% increase though if they got 32 million back from their 60?
You're right on that. Hold on. So then we do 14 times. No, there's how it goes. So what, they only get 6 million back? So they would have 22. Oh, so 22 would be their total. So they would get 22 million total.
So you do 22,400 minus their 16 million.
Yeah.
Right.
Let me Google this real quick.
Yeah, that makes more sense if they get 22 million back. That's a 40% return.
Yeah. Let me see this. Hold on. I'm doing a little Google here. Yeah, so go their initial investment at 16 million. So that would be a negative number. And then the cash flows would show whatever they get per year. So then they get return of their capital. And then if they did like 10%, so yeah, I'm pretty sure that's how it would go. Yeah.
Seems to make sense to me.
Yeah, 22 million is what I would say would be there, which obviously they would get more than enough in the sale. So I think they would get 22 million back, and that would be 40% rate of return.
So do you know, so when they get that money back, so that extra $8 million, is that just their pay? What?
Well, it's just like a stock. They're investing, they're buying stock, and so then they're going to sell their stock and get their money back plus whatever they make back, and that's how VC firms make money.
That's a lot of money. That's just divided up between all of their employees or whoever's doing the deal.
Just however the VC firm structures it. So I'm sure that the general partner that's over it probably gets a good chunk. He probably gets a percentage of it. But I would imagine that a lot of it too has to go back into what they're going to loan back. Yeah. So I'm sure they're not going to give the whole 8 million to the general partner. And I'm sure everyone gets a bonus from whatever they make, but then it's probably going to go to build up their investing fund.
It's just so much money. It's over my head.
Yeah, they don't deal in dollars, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Millions.
Well, I'm on board with that answer. That makes sense to me. Is everybody on board with how we did that?
Hopefully it's right.
Yeah. The next question says, provide your analysis for each of the options Greg is considering. Based on your analysis, what should Greg do? Consider Greg's goals, as well as the goals of everyone who else is involved in this venture.
So I don't know. I always feel like I take a different direction from this, but he had a goal of making 2,000 jobs for the people of Bozeman. And so my vote was that he should stick with it until he could finish his goals, because it's not all about money, but about finding the satisfaction. So I don't know. That's just my 2 cents worth.
I'm a little bit torn still on what he should do, because they have a pretty large opportunity here. Yeah. Either way they go, they have a pretty big opportunity, but they also have lots of competition. Anyway, I'm honestly leaning towards them being acquired by this company, because they want to grow. And I feel like there would be benefits with the larger company that would help support them. And I think that they would all still be involved. I didn't quite understand that they would be purchased with equity, right?
Yeah.
So they would get equity, and they would get equity in the company that is acquiring them, right?
Yeah, and that was kind of part of the risk, was that, you know, it's all your money is based on the stock price. So what if that company's stock price doesn't go up, you lose a bunch of money? Mm-hmm. So I mean, that was one of the risks. But I agree with you. I think I'm kind of leaning towards acquiring also, just because I think, and kind of address Susan's concern of jobs, I think he could probably finagle it to keep the business in Bozeman and still work, but he just would work for this other company. And it gives him instant spotlight to work for this other company, instant, you know, that's kind of what they were lacking. They felt like was kind of the clamor and the press of going through an IPO and being talked about. And so I think they get a lot of those. Plus they would have deeper pockets. They would be able to have more money, a lot of things like that. I thought the acquiring was probably the best idea for me.
Right, because he can, if he continues with that company can create the jobs.
Yeah.
And fulfill his goals. That's what I wrote in my analysis also.
Yeah, as long as he can keep it in Bozeman. I mean, I don't know what they want. The company, obviously the other company will be in charge, but I think he could put something in the terms to keep the branch in Bozeman. So.
Okay, I have a question. Maybe you guys understood this better than I did. When they have the equity, when they just get stock from the other company, mm-hmm. Does that mean that they still are on the board, or does that mean that they're kicked off the board? They don't they just run their little division? How do you think that would work?
Equity, I think it's just to be used as a form of payment. I don't know if it's going to make them on the board or anything like that, because they're probably not going to be a majority owner of the company. They're just going to have all this stock, which could be potentially worth millions and millions of dollars for them. But I think he could probably place himself. You know, he's still going to be the CEO. He'll just be the CEO of that branch, most likely.
Oh.
So he'll still keep a lot of control.
It all depends on their terms, right? What they agree on.
But I think he could probably finagle with it. You know, hey, I built this. I know what's going on. I'm the expert here, so let me stay in control. I mean, when a company acquires a company, and sometimes they do, they just get rid of the company because it's competition, or they just leave whoever was in charge. I think he said that he was going to go work with them. So I think that he would probably stay in charge and stay the CEO of that. Because like a lot of companies, like really big companies, right? Like for instance, who I just interviewed with Raytheon, they have like places all over the world. And so like one in Tucson has 12,000 employees. And so there's a CEO for that. But then the guy who's at the charge of the company is the president, not the CEO. So each individual location and different branch of the company has its own CEO and CFO and all that.
Okay.
So I think he could probably stay maybe CEO and keep acting in that capacity.
Yeah. I don't feel like it would be beneficial for them to be acquired if he wasn't able to maintain some sort of control.
Yeah, unless he just wanted to say see ya and do his own thing.
They'd just get money or stuff. Sorry, I missed that. You broke up.
Oh, sorry. I was just saying, or unless he wants to just sell his stock and, live a good life again. But it doesn't seem like he wants to do that.
Yeah.
It's really a pretty easy case this week.
Yeah. I enjoyed it. Have you guys read the other one for the essay that we have to do?
No,
Yeah, the carbon 6.
I haven't read it. I plan to do it today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was
That was a
wondering if
pretty
we were
easy
going
case
to
too.
talk about that at all. Probably not.
We can if you have any questions. I haven't read it, but if you have questions about it, I can. If you explain to me what's going on, I kind of get it because we talked about this business a little bit at the beginning of the semester. But
and this was this case, the carbon 6 rings, was in another class I took, but I don't think we read the case that thoroughly.
Oh, that's right. It's in New Ventures that we talked about it.
So yeah, I had a couple of questions on that, but so in the carbon 6, it's like a buy or sell, and you have to decide which one would be better. I mean, buy or make or buy.
Yeah, buy the materials or make them yourself, you mean?
Yeah. Anyways.
I might have a question for you guys. It doesn't give you the instructions give you a little bit of guidance on the essay, but it doesn't say, I'm assuming it's an essay or it's a plan. It doesn't exactly say how long it needs to be. The other one said no more than 1,500 words.
I would just kind of do the same thing, I think.
Similar, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, just keep it under 1,500 and just honestly, I think this class is as long as you make your point. It doesn't even need to be that in depth. Just make your point and make it reasonable. You're gonna get an A. That's kind of how I look at it.
Yeah, let's tell us how long it's supposed to be.
I'm looking at the instructions right now and I don't see anything. It just says it must include clear business objectives, step-by-step action, what you recommend to avoid and handle the biggest risk of the company. It must have at least one exhibit showing your calculations of the company value, future cash requirements, and the implications of John's net worth of his equity splits.
So maybe it's the other class. I have 2 essays due this tomorrow or today.
Yeah.
So
just as long as you add all that in, I think you're good.
Okay. Sounds good. Do you guys have anything else?
I'm
sorry.
No, you're good. I'm not in charge. It's all you. I forget sometimes.
Do you guys have anything else? Any other questions?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, I'm good. Thanks for your help.
Okay, I don't think that there was any votes this week, right?
No, I didn't see any. I mean, maybe number 4.
Yeah, I guess maybe number 4. And so I guess, okay, I'll figure out a time for that. All right, cool. I'll send you guys over the link here in a second.
Okay.
Right.
Do you want to include
next week? Am I in charge next week?
Or am I in charge?
Who's in charge?
I think Andrew is.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay,
I can't
good.
Remember.
All right, we'll see you guys next week.
Okay. Hey, Andrew.
Yeah.
Can you include the timestamps when you email it to me so that I can include them on the?
Did I not last time?
I think you did.
Oh, okay, yeah, I'll include them in the email. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Cool, no problem. All right,
Okay, see you guys.
Have a good week, you guys.
You too.